Dana White's Contender Series is back, and we have 5 fights in the UFC Apex tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, so don't miss it. Contender Series shows out every single week. This is week 9, so we only have 2 more weeks, which is sad, but it's going to be back soon, and hopefully they eventually make it year-round because I absolutely love Tuesdays during Contender Series, but I'm looking forward to these fights. I'm looking forward to breaking them down. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I know it is last minute, but this is a kind of a chalky card. I had to pick my spots, so I'm going to get into it. Start at the bottom, working my way to the top. Leave a like on the video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite underdog is, what your favorite parlay is, who your picks are. Love going back and forth with you guys in the comments, on Twitter, all that. That's going to be in the caption below as well. And turn those post notifications on and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Not only that, but Wager Wars will be happening tomorrow night, as always, for the UFC card on Saturday. I'm going to be bringing on 2 more of your favorite cappers, and they're going to be putting their best bets against each other, see who wins. It's been a lot of fun. Last week we had DFS by the numbers taking on Evan. It was a great one. Evan was able to get the win, but it was a fun episode. So let's get into it, man. First fight of the night, we got Gauci taking on Anthony Drilich. This is still going to be a fun fight, man. Flyweight fight. Drilich did have a little bit of trouble making weight, but he was able to do it, which was a little interesting because it did look like he was a little bit of a smaller guy. But, you know, hey, sometimes it just people don't cut weight as well. Who knows? Maybe he had some stuff going on in training camp. You know, maybe just, timed stuff wrong a little bit with his, diet and his his ritual. But, I don't love to see the box of shame come out. But at the end of the day, he made it. He didn't look too rough, so I'm sure he'll be okay. In this fight, he calls himself the biggest hitter at flyweight, the biggest knockout threat from Australia and stuff like that. Might be a little overblown, but I will say the guy hits hard. The guy cracks. He's been dominating that regional scene over there, knocking dudes out. I mean, I went through and watched a couple of his fights. Grappling seems a little meh, but on the feet, definitely has hands. We'll throw kicks a little bit, but for a flyweight, he's a little one-dimensional. Like a flyweight, you typically see really guys who can just kind of do it all. He's a little bit hands reliant. And on the other side, we got Gauci over here. Is it Gauci or Gauci? I can't remember. But anyways, another Australian guy. So they've been building this up as like Australia versus Australia. It's pretty big over there for a Contender Series fight. I've been seeing a good amount of hype over there. And Sean's legit, man. This guy's pretty good in the striking as well. Is, like I said, going to be a little bit bigger. And he's a little bit more technical. He probably doesn't have the power that Anthony does, but he does have a decent power for flyweight. And he just has a little bit more weapons. I think he's got better kicks. The big thing, though, is the wrestling and the grappling. Now, yeah, he's an Australian guy. Like, look, I'm just being honest. Like, is he like a D1 wrestler? No, but I do think if he gets Drilich down, there's going to be a decent discrepancy there. I just think he's a little bit more polished. I will say it's tough because I do feel like this fight could go 15. And I will probably lean for it to go 15. And you got a guy with big power, can win moments. If there's a finish and it's on the feet, it could definitely be Drilich. But, Gauci could also catch a sub or just wrestle him. I just think he can mix into takedowns. I think he's a better guy. And I did go ahead and parlay him at minus 180, minus 170 or minus 180. But he's the first leg of a parlay. I'll give the odds of the parlay here once we get to the second leg. You guys know I don't parlay often, but you got to pick your spots on this card, especially because this is a lot of wide odds. And I just think I think he should win. I think he's one of the more better lined favorites on the card. Probably, my favorite on the whole card. But we move on to Islam Dulatov taking on Vakhitov Antunes. And this is an interesting fight. I like this Dulatov guy. Typically, you guys know, especially at this weight class, I mean, to be 6'6", kind of crazy. Just a little excessive, and a lot of times you're going to see not only the tall man's defense come out, but not great takedown defense. I will say for a tall guy like that, at least against the guys he's been fighting, his striking defense doesn't seem awful for a 6'6" welterweight. But Antunes does have power, man. I mean, he's pretty much KO or bust, and could he knock out Dulatov? It's definitely possible. I will say for a lanky guy like that, Dulatov actually can, grapple a decent amount, not just like off his back playing guard or something. Like he can get takedowns. I could see him maybe body locking Antunes down. I do think he's going to have a pretty big grappling discrepancy. Antunes has been submitted like 4 or 5 times. He also got What I saw him get submitted by just some like meme. What was it? A Sulev stretch? Yeah. Luis Diaz, like that wasn't a good look at all. I mean, just definitely seems like pretty one-dimensional. Kind of similar to the first fight, where I do feel like he does have he could maybe knock Dulatov out. If he had some wrestling, I'd be like tempted if he had the path of maybe catching him with a shot, knocking him out, or putting him on his back, because I do think a good wrestler in this division is going to have their way with Dulatov. I just think this is not that case, and I think they're bringing Dulatov in. He was supposed to be on the Contender Series earlier. I think he gets the dub here. I thought about parlaying him when he was minus 450, but then, I had already made my parlay in the opening fight, and honestly, I was just like, it's not. And then I waited, and then now he's like minus 650 or something. So, just going to lay off of it. I do think he wins. I think he could honestly knock him out. He could submit him. He could win a decision. I think it ends inside the distance, though. I think he probably ends up taking him down and submitting him. But kind of a high variance fight. I do think Dulatov wins, though. Moving on to another big favorite in Mario Pinto taking on Lucas Camacho. And oh my God, if you guys didn't catch a stare down for this, go watch it. You can't even see the whole thing because they cut it. I'm looking for like an alternate angle, but they did the stare down for as long as humanly possible. When they were, face to face, and then they backed off when the staff forced them to. But then they just stood on opposite sides of the room, just like mean mugging each other for the rest of the stare down, like the rest of the card stare downs. So probably the longest stare down in UFC/Dana White Contender Series history. They sized up pretty well together, man. I mean, I get why Pinto's the favorite, because I do think if he puts Camacho on his back, he could probably have his way with him there, even though I have seen Pinto on the amateur scene get taken down and pounded out. But, Camacho doesn't seem like the best grappler. And on the feet, too, I could see Pinto catching him because, Camacho's a little loose with his defense. Like, he's coming forward. And a guy like Pinto who takes his time and is looking to counter, he definitely could catch Camacho and knock him out. I do like the forward pressure, though, from Camacho. Two heavyweights, two big guys, two guys that haven't really fought anybody. Both have power. Both primarily want to throw hands. Pinto is, he's got a good jab, and he's probably, he fights well off the back foot, so a guy like Camacho, he's got to be careful because, his lead hand is just pawing, ready to get cracked with a big right hand from Pinto, and I could definitely see that happening. But I just think this line is off, man. There's big favorites on this card, and out of all of them, I think this line is the most unjustified. So I'm going to play Camacho. I'm going to play Camacho. I thought about taking a hot take and just picking Camacho outright by KO. But I will say, I'm just going to be real with you guys. I guess I have to pick Pinto just because he's the more well-rounded, more technical, better, just better fighter. But I think Camacho's forward pressure, just stylistically putting Pinto on his back foot, and if, Camacho could land a big shot, he could also, I don't think it's going 15, but I do think he's going to be the one coming forward, pushing the fight, and I don't know. I could see him maybe getting on top of Pinto at some point. It is a sloppy, low-level heavyweight fight, and the pick is Pinto, but you can't parlay this guy at minus 650, man. There's better pieces if you're really trying to parlay big favorites than this. So give me Pinto, but I'm going to be playing that Camacho. It's plus 500 right now, but the way these Contender Series fights go, it might jump to plus 700 before the fight, so I'm just going to sit back and wait, but I'm going to play his money line because it's only going in my favor. We move on to the co-main event. We got Cody Steele, hopefully getting a fight this time, taking on Chassin Blair. And I say that, but Blair's not going to quit. Even though it's not like Otoni would have been somebody that I would have thought would quit before the fight. Dude fought Alex Pereira, beat him, and now he's scared to fight. Scared is a stupid word, but, whatever was going on. Panic attacks are real. Who knows what was going on, man? He might have had, a family emergency happen. Things happen, and more likely, a lot of times I've seen, I've been there in person when, fighters, are in, relationship, their wife's I'm leaving you, while they're wrapping their hands because they just, need the attention. I don't know. It's a weird thing that I've seen before. So maybe it was something like that, but hey, definitely wasn't a good look. But in this fight, I do think it's going to take place. Blair is a dog. Two guys that look to grapple, and, I liked a dog shot on Otoni before, even though I really like Steele, because I did think that if you're going to beat Steele, it's you got to just be somebody who can just crack him and knock him out, because he is a grappler and he does have only 6 fights, and he is kind of, maybe you could make an argument, especially in this position of being on Contender Series, falling in love with his hands a little bit. And I do think he probably was going to go in there and strike a bit with Otoni, which could be a problem. In this fight, I don't know if it's as much of a problem, because don't get me wrong, Blair's no chump on the feet, but he is more of a grappler, and even though he does have a high-level wrestling credentials, I just feel like Steele, probably just a more physical, stronger, overall better grappler. I mean, this guy's a high-level BJJ artist. As a jiu-jitsu guy myself, I love to see, I follow this guy on Instagram, I watch him, I'm a fan, I'm rooting for him. And I like Blair too, but it's like when you guys remember Hazanzada on the Contender Series a couple weeks ago. Don't even get me started. Disgusting fight. One of the lower level fights on Contender Series so far, but this season. But to get out grappled and knee barred by that, and then go watch the fight, it's like, it wasn't a good look, man. It wasn't a good look, because Hazanzada just like put him in this knee bar, and then I don't know what was going through Blair's mind, but like zero defense, nothing. Like, I mean, it wasn't. I don't know. It just wasn't a good look. And Cody Steele's a high level jiu-jitsu guy. And these are two grapplers. So it's probably going to end up on the mat at some point. Steele can, I just think he can win those exchanges. Even if Blair puts him on his back, I could see Steele sweeping him, getting on top. I don't see Blair controlling him. I don't see Blair getting one of these submissions off his back. I just think Steele's too good. And on the feet, I say all that, but honestly, I think Steele could just, it's Contender Series like I said, and I do feel like he's been falling in love a little bit with his hands. I think he might come in here and just knock Blair out. Honestly, I could see that, especially as the fight goes longer, because I do feel like Steele's probably going to take over if the fight does go longer. So, man, I just like Steele here. I think he's better everywhere. I think he wins the fight. I think he honestly gets the TKO and knocks Blair out. Could just be on the feet, could hurt him and then fall him up to the ground and pound him. I just think Steele's the better guy. I have him parlayed up as the second leg of that Gauci parlay. That's plus 125 on Bet Online. Hey, it was minus 225 and minus 180, I believe. I still think, they're both. I'm not a big parlay guy. You guys know that. It's probably the weak point of my betting. That's why I don't do it that often. But I like these two guys. I think they both win, and I don't want to have that much ownership of them. So we're going to parlay them up. Let's get it done, plus 125. And we move on to the main event. And what do you know? We got another Alex Pereira connection and Artem Vakhitov taking Islam Masraf. You guys might remember Islam as well. This was the guy who fought that dude, for lack of a better way of explaining him. Big black dude, had a couple fights, couple knockouts. He's actually got a couple wins since, but went in there I think he was like a ball. I didn't even have to go back and watch it. It was a meme. You guys saw it. It went viral. Islam goes in there, and this dude's like dragging his hands across the cage, looking all lackadaisical. Then the fight starts, and he literally has his hands at his waist. And credit to Masraf, he at least did the easiest. I don't know if the dude literally was just like, screw this fight, I'm just gonna take the L, or if he really was just like coming in there like, I'm gonna go loosey-goosey on this guy and then just throw a bomb and knock him out and not think about a head kick coming back. But Islam threw a left head kick and knocked him out. Idiot. So I want to hope that guy just didn't feel like fighting and went down in the most savage way and just KO me, bro, rather than being like that one boxer who just walked out. But, Artem's not going to do that. This guy did fight to Pereira twice in kickboxing. Yes, you've probably heard about it. Both were close decisions. He won one, he lost one. Was there a third fight? I think it was just the two. But I watched the second fight, and, it was close. It was close. I honestly think it could have went either way. I feel like Pereira did feel like he was winning and probably didn't press as much as he probably would have if he thought he was losing. So that he kind of let it get away from him. He also did look like he slowed down a little bit. There was a lot of clinching going on in that fifth round. But, in this fight, it is kind of two strikers. So you got to favor the guy in Artem, not just because he has a win over Alex Pereira, but he is a high-level glory kickboxer. And, Islam's just kind of a strike. I mean, he has kickboxing experience too, but not on the same level. Can he use some grappling? I mean, when you're talking about a plus 450 or whatever he is now, yes, that's something you got to worry about if you're on our team, minus 700 or whatever he is now. But, I just feel like they're probably going to strike, and Artem's just going to be the better striker. I actually like both. And first of all, I don't think it is heavyweight. I think it's 205. They just listed it at heavyweight for some reason, but I'm pretty sure it's 205. Even if it is, they both weighed like 206. It's whatever. They're not heavyweights at all. But I actually like both these guys to be in the UFC, honestly. Even though 2-1, but it's like, okay, you got to put some context in there. And then Islam, too, had some... is it coming up on Tapology? Yeah, it only has the 2 amateur fights coming up on Tapology, too, but I'm pretty sure this guy had some... Maybe it was amateur kickboxing, but he had some striking that I believe was kickboxing before MMA, too. So, he's not as green as just 5 fights total, including amateur. I think he's pretty good. I just think this is a tough matchup, man. Clearly, the UFC wants to bring in, another one of these Alex Pereira-connected guys. So I think Artem gets it done. I think he gets the win, probably by knockout. But then again, it could be decision because he does take his time and pick his shots, and Masraf's tough. So I'm going to pick Artem. I don't think I'm going to play him, though, man. I know I'm not going to play him. I honestly, if anything, you got to be on the Masraf side on the money line side because this line is wide. The guy's 2-1 in MMA. Like, I know he's 3-0, but it's just like he's plus 450 and the other guy's minus 700. Like, you got to play numbers. So I haven't got around to it, but the pick is Artem. I just wouldn't bet that. Run through the picks. I got Artem via. I'm actually going to take him by decision. No, I'm going to take him by KO. I'm going to take him by TKO. But Cody Steele KO. Lucas Camacho KO, or Mario Pinto KO, but I'm betting Lucas Camacho to knock him out. Well, actually, I haven't bet it yet, but it's plus 500 now. The KO is like 800, I think. I'll probably just play the money line, but I think he probably KOs him if he wins. Islam Dulatov, I'll pick him by sub, but no bet. And then Sean Gauci, I'm going to pick him by decision, but I played his money line. Like the video, click subscribe, turn those post notifications on. Let me know in the comments who you got. Good luck. Enjoy the fights. Peace.